As guys, sometimes it's hard for us to admit, oh, I might be screwing things up. Because the greatest motive away from driver for men is shame. We want to avoid shame at any cost on the average typical perspective, right?
You have a program called Rewired.
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I have two different segments of Rewired, or two different rounds. One is highly focused on rewiring your relationship with money, just because I've found a lot of leaders, people of faith, not of faith, whatever, we got some money drama. And it shows up in our business, and it's almost an unconscious handcuff to our growth.
We could stay here for a long time. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I almost know, as a little side note, if I'm working with someone from the church or deep faith background, one of the first things I got to deal with is money trauma.
Yeah, like, why is that? We had a staff meeting the other day, and we talked about that, and how, like, you know, and Jim actually whipped out 3 verses, I think it was in Deuteronomy, where he's talking about the blessings will be bestowed upon you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't know why, you know, nobody with money, people that have money don't villainize money, only people that don't have it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if somebody villainizes money that's a good person that just don't have a lot, you're telling me you wouldn't be a better person if you had more money? You're telling me you wouldn't be able to do more for your community, more for your family, more for those that need it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, it's really a misinterpretation of that book, or that verse in 1 Timothy. For the in the King James Version, it says, for the root, or the love of money is the root of all evil. So they mistranslated.
Thank you.
You know, you go to the NIV, where it's a much more accurate translation. It says, for the love of money is the root of many kinds of evil.
Dude, if anything, if you're just an active, disciplined tither, the more you make, the bigger that 10% is.
Yeah, and you got to let it flow.
And Roger told me that a long time ago. Pastor Roger, he said, Nick, everybody can give their time. Not everybody can give money.
Yeah.
The church has to have money.
Yeah. And it partly is like recognizing. So I think the paradigm that the church, and not just the church, but a lot of Western culture is scarcity. It's very scarcity driven. And something I'm still, like, you know, I've made a ton of progress on, but there's still elements of, like, energetically. And then if we remind ourselves, like, how abundant is water? Water's so freaking abundant. Yeah. Like, we go back in time, 1900s, we thought the world would be overpopulated with 1 billion people. Well, now we got 6 billion people. And guys like Elon Musk are saying, no, we got plenty of room.
Yeah.
If we just use resources more effectively.
Right.
So abundance it's really a vibration and a belief state versus a scarcity state. And even like some of this energy, like the world is actually plentiful in energy, even diamonds. Why do De Beers controls the diamond market so they can keep prices high?
Right.
Because they got decades of diamonds in storage already.
Right.
Diamonds are actually fairly plentiful in the mining resource. And now we can make them artificial diamonds that are just as good.
Yeah.
So it's a consciousness that is, it empowers the be too. You could say, hey, all right, it's used to control. Scarcity is used to control. And but if we can attune ourselves to abundance, and it takes some healing work, and it takes, I think, from the church, it's letting go of old paradigms, realizing that, like, for example, one of my favorite books is Science of Getting Rich. Another one is Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah, that's good.
You Are a Badass at Making Money, Quantum Success, where you just attune your. I read 97 when I lost $1 million in a season, and I had to rewrite my relationship with money.
Yeah, and
I literally read a money book for 36 weeks in a row. And I've read like 97 books on money since then. And it's just I was like, man, I'm going to use this crisis, or if you waste them, it's a bad thing to waste. And I had a crisis. And I was like, I'm going to use this sucker to grow and propel me. And now my money mindset is much, much higher, and it's still growing. And I'm more attuned to gratitude. The other thing is, like, it's impossible. like if you look, even one of my favorite books, Millionaire of Nazareth by Catherine Ponder, it's really a story of Jesus and his money mindset in some regards. You know what he did before every miracle he performed? He said a prayer of thanksgiving as if it's already happened.
Right.
Not waiting until it's happened to say that prayer. He said, hey, thanks Father for blah, blah, feeding the fish, multiplying the fish. And if we have that sort of embrace and we're walking in this flow of gratitude, then we're magnetically attracting from a state of gratitude and a state of scarcity.
It's the power of prayer, man. It's the power of prayer. But yeah, folks, money is. Go ahead.
But I'd add, it's a different type of prayer.
Absolutely.
Most of us, when we're praying, when we think of prayer, we're thinking of the desperate prayer.
Right.
And it's really shifting our focus to pray from this whole different perspective that feels subtle, but it's actually radically different, which is this flow of gratitude and flow of trust and surrender and faith. Doesn't mean you don't take action, because the next step after faith is faith in action.
Right.
But instead of scarcity.
Nobody's perfect. Everybody's got problems. But I've challenged a lot of folks to prove to me you can be in a bad mood when you're grateful.
Yeah.
Prove to me you can have a bad day when you're grateful, man.
Right? You can't.
No. All right. So the first part of Rewired is about money. Thank you for that too, by the way, because like when I didn't have any money, I wasn't an expert at money. The more I learned about money, magically, the more I had, right? Because the more you learn about it, you know how to use it as a tool to not just grow other things and help people, but to grow more money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not a farmer by any means, but which means I probably couldn't grow a lot of the greatest resources that we might need. However, if I learned how to do those things and I became an expert at those, I'd probably be pretty good at it.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. What's the second part?
The second one, we go deeper into a lot of like neuroscience around flow state, around like healing trauma, around alter egos. We do a lot of alter ego work actually in both of them. So alter ego, think of like Kobe Bryant had Black Mamba. Deion Sanders had Prime Time.
That's right.
Beyonce, Sasha Fierce, even God had multiple alter egos, Jesus, Son, Holy Ghost, right?
Yeah.
Or Father and all that. So, but when you are tapped in to your alter ego, and this is about, in psychology, we go into like in NLP, we call it parts therapy or parts integration, internal family systems, and more conventional psychology. But it's where you have all these different parts of yourself. But if I can learn to harness them,
that's it,
and align them, right?
That's it. It's the way an athlete does when they take the field.
Yeah,
it's
game time.
It's game time. The switch is on, and they turn it off when the switch is off.
And your brain can literally shift into a different state.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
act from a different vantage point. But what if we could do that in ordinary life? What if we have? What if my game time face is not the face that my wife wants to see when I get home?
Right.
That was a hard lesson for me. It's like, when I walk through that door, I gotta be in dad mode. Loving, kind, connected, not let's go.
That's right. My wife said the exact same thing to me, because I was literally like, in one sentence, because we're business partners. We do work together. In one sentence, I'd be in business mode.
Yeah.
And then literally, like, without even telling her, within seconds, I would turn that switch off and turn the loving husband on. It's like, hey, girl, and she would just look at me and be like, Nick, give me a second to catch up. I can't do that.
Schizophrenia over here.
That's right. That's right, dude. That's crazy. So how do folks get in the Rewired program?
Yeah, so I have 14 keys to rewiring yourself. It's on neurorewire.com, so you can grab that, download. And then if you're interested, just message me on Instagram, or you'll be on my email list from that, and then you'll get more updates on when that comes out. I run each program twice a year. So, but then I do some VIP work and retreats. I do retreats now with the plant medicine facilitator. If you also have trauma, where we call it a rewired retreat, but it's going really deep on just shedding the weight you might have been carrying, so that you can live from a much more powerful, energetic, vibrant state in how you lead and build your business or your life.
So that's at neurorewire.com.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Mike, because, growing up in Antioch, Tennessee,
Right down the road.
and that's right, in a sports world, in a blue collar middle class sports world, there was mental toughness.
Yeah.
So sometimes, breaking yourself down to learn new things might be considered a weakness.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest number one cause of pushback you get is people just look at this stuff like, oh, that's a whole bunch of gypsy stuff, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I used to be that way. And, it's funny. I'm much more happier where I'm at in my journey today because I haven't closed that off. Like I'm open to it. Like I learned to be open to things without just making decisions, judging books by their covers. Like, dude, I'm open to just about anything to form my own opinion, but I got to get educated to form an educated opinion.
Yeah.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about when it comes to some of the, that's probably one of the, is that the hardest thing to get people to do is to overcome that in step one? Sometimes,
and sometimes it's opening themselves up to new perspectives and paradigms, right? Like, which is basically what you're saying and as guys, sometimes it's hard for us to admit, oh, I might be screwing things up. Because the greatest motive away from driver for men is shame. We want to avoid shame at any cost on the average typical perspective, right? Women don't want to be alone. They want to be connected. So if I can embrace and receive that a learning and growth is like reward.
Right.
Oh, now I can activate something different in me. So, it's dropping some ego, and fortunately, most of the communities I run in, it's like high growth communities. So we're already kind of in that mindset, and we're eager and hungry. And you look as you go up in the levels of caliber of people around, they're almost all high growth. They're open. Like I was listening to someone who was hanging out with Richard Branson, and he meets Richard Branson in this event, and Richard is like asking him, like Richard's way more successful than this guy.
Yeah.
And Richard is asking him all these questions to learn from him when Richard's the one with all the accolades.
Yeah.
And he wanted to ask Richard, but Richard was curious.
Right.
So that curiosity to always grow is a huge thing.
For me, it was a level of security.
Yeah.
Right. Anything that I was hesitant to embrace, it was at the end of the day, it was an insecurity within myself.
Yeah.
Because it was almost like I didn't want anybody to know I didn't have it or I was wrong. Yeah. That was a big thing for me in my journey of just, it's okay. I ain't perfect, and and I don't have to go out and fake it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because once I get to the whatever it is that I'm overcoming and I overcome it, then I'm a better person, and that story and journey is inspiring and everything else. But dude, if I know like a year from now, I'm going to be a year's worth better version than I sit today. That's for the rest of my life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, and that was something that was, that I struggled with as a young man, as an insecure person.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the majority of the mistakes and problems in my life, especially in my late 20s and all the way up to about 35 or 36 before I really started to embrace this, was all insecurity.
It's funny, right? And everyone else knows you're insecure except you.
It was silly. And then and that means, and then when you are faking it, people know that too. You can smell
100%. Yeah, it's true.
You can smell it, man. Well, that's a dude. This is you got a lot of awesome stuff going on. Again, the more and more that this gets talked about, the bigger your impact is gonna have. What else in 2024 are you excited about, man? What else is happening with you?
Man, so much. We're super pumped with the things we're creating. I'm heading up Ginfinity, their marketing for NAD optimization and bio. We do all sorts of biomarker testing. So that's been a ton of fun. Then the Rewire programs, because that ties in. Like, I have a lot of passions and a lot of purposes, basically. So, but I love what I'm doing there. It's been fun to see, I want to see 100 people have massive shifts this year. Like not surfacey shifts or not like strategic shifts, but that deep nervous system reset shift. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If, out of the folks out there that are hanging with us today, they might be saying, I wonder if I'm the person he's talking about.
Yeah.
Let's really make sure we identify, like, you know, who it, like when we started any business, we had the business with an avatar or a client, a problem that we solve, and somebody that deals with that problem, we had them in mind. And then it's how do we get this problem, this solution in front of them so we can help them. Right. Yeah. So who is the person that has inspired you to do all this?
Yeah. I'd say the typical person I'm serving in the rewired side is like, man, they're a high performer, but they've been through some stuff. And they may be aware of it or they may not be aware of it, but there's some self-sabotage happening, or there's just a joy disconnection. Or I see some leaders that were just at my last rewired retreat, especially some female leaders, they were living in heart disconnection. They were grinding it out, very successful, but they were not creating from joy. They were creating from grit.
Yep.
And I'm for working hard, but I'm for working hard in a deep state of alignment where your heart is aligned and activated. And so, because you become more powerful, like it's four quadrants: your heart, body, mind, and soul. If all four of those are humming and in harmony,
right,
you're rowing in the same direction.
That's right.
And so, but if you've been through some trauma, you've had some junk, you grew up with some stuff, you know you're missing the mark. You know something's off. And you want to shed. You just feel like unconsciously you want to shed some bags of bricks. Let's talk. Let me I love the other thing that now that I feel like I have this secret weapon. Like I could do a lot of work with people and shift their NLP and heal and release stuff. But now that I can double your neuroplasticity, I basically can reset your mind and then recreate. No, it's the most powerful aspect that I've ever seen to couple this deep understanding of peak performance and then have this thing that basically gives me a blank slate. Because otherwise it takes so much effort. Like to get the same effect from meditation, you would need roughly about 180 to 200 hours of meditation to even get close to what I can do in a single session.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So that's a comparison.
Folks, we're hanging out with peak performance coach and author of Genius Within, Mike Zeller, MikeZeller.com, on social media at the Mike Zeller. Mike, is there anything else that as we bring this sucker to a close, anything else you got that you want to feed into anybody with? And big shout out, by the way, to Nick Alfano, who took me over to old Vince Del Monte's house, which is for a mastermind where I met you the first time. You know what I mean? Shout out to those guys.
Yeah, good dudes. If you're also battling mental health, wherever you're at in journey, because I'm so passionate about that because of how dark that season was with my wife, I don't want anyone to suffer through that. So reach out to me. I'll point you in the right direction. I've got a whole, on my website, you'll see I've got a link with like 18 different resources and videos and YouTubes and Andrew Huberman this or Tim Ferriss that, where it guides you through how you can find hope for PTSD, mental health, and basically get the cloud off your back.
That's right.
You deserve to be free.
I agree. Well, dude, thanks so much for the hang today, brother.
Likewise, dude. This was a blast. I love jamming with you. Love your energy, dude, and love your sound effects over there too. That's
right. We had some fun. I've still got some in the can. People ain't
we didn't have
yet.
any oops. We didn't have any boops and oops.
No. We you crushed it today as advertised, brother.
Thanks, dude.
Well, I appreciate the time. And folks, once again, Mike Zeller. Check out MikeZeller.com on social media at the Mike Zeller. And you heard him, folks. If you just want to drop him a little line, inquire and find your genius within, get that book and shoot him a DM on Instagram.
That'd be great. I would love it.
Awesome. Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to yet another episode of The Hit Streak. I am your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.